Hello, my name is Gina Sims, and I'm the founder of the Autism Theater Project. I'm so excited to talk to Mickey Rowe today. Mickey is one of the first openly autistic professional actors to play an autistic role. He's an advocate. He is the founder of National Disability Theater. He's also legally blind and a very experienced circus performer from when he was a very little kid. And he's a father, as you can see. That's his youngest son right there. Hi. Mickey, could you introduce your son to us?
Absolutely. Well, I'm Mickey, and this is my son. And should we say your name, or should we just say F? So the F. We'll say F is your name for now to keep. Oh, Felix. He spells his name very well now.
And Mickey, you have two kids, yeah?
I do, yes. The other one is doing a pretty good job of staying quiet and reading a book right over there. But I do have two kids. And I have, because my wife Helen and I are a blended family. So we have 4 kids now. 2 of them are biologically mine and 2 of them are biologically Helen's. But together we're sort of like a big blended Brady Bunch almost.
Brady Bunch, yeah.
Now, which is pretty nice. But only 2 of them in the house now during this interview.
That's awesome. And your oldest son, I read in your book that's coming up. Mickey has a book coming out called Fearlessly Different, which is awesome. The oldest son is on the autism spectrum, right?
Yes, that's true. Because I'm also diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, I think that when I heard his diagnosis, it didn't really change anything for me. It wasn't something I was worried about. Instead, because I knew that the diagnosis itself was not changing anything about August, I felt really relieved because I knew it was just going to be one more tool to help me get the resources for him and the accommodations that he would need to be the most successful version of himself.
What has been your most rewarding experience parenting your kids?
Yeah, I think one of my most rewarding experiences parenting my kids have just been the times when we are outside doing unstructured play together or adventuring through the park together. But then more autism specific, I think I really like the times when one of my kids is maybe, you can if you go upstairs and ask mom about it, but I can't help you with that just at this moment. Maybe when one of my kids has been stimming in a way that maybe is not as, just a way that maybe would maybe cause harm, like hitting their heads or something like that. Whereas I think in the past, a lot of parents, when I was growing up, thought stimming was a bad thing. And if they saw that happening, they would try to stop their kid from stimming or hold their arms so that they wouldn't stim. And what's been really nice, because I know how positive stimming can be and that stimming is so self-regulatory for myself, I can instead just redirect my kid to say, oh, you know what? I see how you're feeling. When I'm feeling that way, I like to stim like this or by tapping the table. And that way you might not be hurting your head, but you'll still get to feel that rhythmic kind of tapping feeling. So I think that's been really satisfying too, being able to have an insider's eye of autism and be able to then help my children grow up.
That's awesome.
And feel accepted. I would say my advice to other parents of kids on the spectrum, if you are a non-autistic parent, would be to connect with the autistic adult community and find autistic adults to connect with, because your child is going to grow up to be an autistic adult one day. Every autistic child grows up to be an autistic adult. And so it is so important that you as a parent are connecting with those adults to learn more about them and their lived experiences. And also, if you want your child to be listened to when they're a grown up, if you want the world and people in our society to listen to and respect your child when they grow up, a great way to model that and to make that happen now is by listening to and respecting the autistic people who are already grown-ups, who are grown-ups right now. Because so often right now, there are so many services for people who are on the autism spectrum when they are under 18 years old through school and things like that. But as soon as you turn 18, so many services end, and people kind of just want to think that you maybe just disappear. I think a lot of times when we picture an autistic person in our head, we often picture a young white boy because that's all we see on TV, and it's so silly. When really women are autistic just as much, people of color are autistic just as much, and every autistic person is going to become an autistic adult. So it's really important to find those communities, find autistic adult communities, find diverse autistic adult communities, connect with them, and learn specifically from them about how you can better listen to your child and be the best parent possible for your child.
Definitely. That's awesome. Yeah, I connect to what you're saying about how as the kids get older, it seems like the resources and the understanding starts to dissipate a bit. I kind of feel that way about my sister. While she, while she has, my sister's on the autism spectrum, and while she's lucky to have had behavior therapists, especially over the past year or so, who very kind and very understanding and passionate about her. She's really cool, so it's easy to be passionate about working with her. I do feel like just in general, as the kids get older, there doesn't seem to be as much of a market for resources that really address them.
Absolutely. Even as an adult here in Seattle, I know that when my wife and I have looked for therapists who specialize in autism, for myself, there's such a lack of them that will work with adults, because so many of these services are so specialized for children. I really think we need to realize that we stop infantilizing autistic people and realize autistic people are adults, become adults, even when it comes to things like sex education too, and or things like that. Those are things that often people don't give to autistic people in the same way, because we just like to think of people with disabilities sometimes as these little young perfect cherub kids. And we need to realize, no, people with disabilities and autistic people are going to be adults with full lives, and we really need to be prepared for that and receive all sorts of different resources that are for adults as well.
Something that I've realized as I spent more and more time with my sister, I've been homeschooling her since this crazy pandemic started. As more time I spend with her, the more I see and understand how she's developing and growing up on the inside, very similarly to how I did when I was like turning 15 years old. And I think I've seen that it can be hard for some people to see somebody whose speech hasn't evolved, the way my speech evolved growing up to be 15 years old, and realize, okay, the speech hasn't evolved, but so much of what's going on the inside has evolved,
Absolutely.
I loved how you addressed that in your book, Fearlessly Different. So
there's power inside, a voice inside.